Superwoman Special Issue 1. Joshua Williamson writing with Laura Braga, Nicola Shemeshka, and Edwin Gammon on the art. So yeah, lots of artists on this. It is oversized, to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is basically, to a point anyway. I mean, actually, no, by the end we kind of just know outright what it is. But like it's like, okay, how did Lois get powers? It's not actually set in the past for the most part. It's kind of like a present day little story where Lois tells the story to other characters. So we have both Supergirl and other Superwoman, or Superwoman Red, as Lana calls herself in this issue, just for easy naming. So Lois has got writer's block. She's struggling. They show up in civvies and say, hey, let's go get dinner or something. And she's like, I can't. I get too much work. And then they say, how about crime fighting? And she's like, yeah, I'm game for that. So we get some pages of them out being a trio of super ladies, which is kind of cool. And they're hanging out in the Eiffel Tower. And she's basically saying she's having a hard time getting into this new role of writing while she's also being the editor, because she'd always bounce ideas off of Perry, and Perry would like help her shape what the good ideas were. And now she doesn't have that. So they're like, hey, why don't you bounce ideas off of us? And it ends up turning into, when did this become a problem? And it's like, oh, it's since she had powers. So we actually get the story, and it all ties back into her having that super armor that she got from Supercorp back in Absolute Power. And it does seem to be when all the powers, I say all, when some powers went to the wrong people or whatever at the end of that event, that's what's caused this. And it spends a lot of this issue basically just showing her discover the powers. There's a bit of a mystery as to like when she got them, because she passed out and woke up like back at the Daily Planet like nothing had happened, and no one knows how that happened. So that's something still to be answered.
Yeah, because she wakes up, right? The last thing she remembers is going down into the ocean after, the Justice League destroys the Amazo bots, right?
Yeah.
And because of the armor was kind of tied into that technology, she goes down over the ocean, but she wakes up in her reporter clothes, or in her editor clothes, on the Daily Planet building. And she's found by Jimmy and Silver Banshee, who's going up, to Jimmy's clearly not working, right? And is startled that she's up there. So
he's hoping to get lucky with the Irish.
Yes, there you go. And yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny. Like that's how she is kind of found, and it adds one of those it's a very Clark Kent moment, right? Where it's like, oh, Clark, what are you doing up here? Oh, just getting a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Well, what's funny though is that she doesn't actually know why she's up here in this case, because she doesn't remember why she got there. But
yeah,
and then this, the three super ladies are doing stuff again, and she's still telling the story, and she's talking about all this. And basically, we see the first moment where she picked up a couch by accident, and she's like, "Oh shit, I've got super strength." And then she went to Mercy at Supercorp, because this is all set during when Clark was in the Phantom Zone in action, which is a nice bit of editorial just to kind of line all this stuff up. And she's like, oh shit, how did that happen? And they actually tell her not to use her powers because they don't actually know, one, what the extent of them are yet, and also like this could be like a battery where you deplete and then once they're gone, so you probably shouldn't just like wade into situations. But of course, Lois on their way home from Supercorp hears some police sirens and says, screw it, I'm going to go help. And that's actually how she finds out she's bulletproof, because she gets hit and is okay. But I love that when she does this though, like Lana and Kara are immediately like, hey Lois, that was a dumb move. Like, what if you weren't bulletproof? Like, you would have just got yourself killed for seeming no reason. And they show the moment where she tells Clark that she's got powers when he gets back, and she even wears his glasses for, as she puts it, dramatic effect, which was a cute touch. So she could rip off the shirt and reveal the Superman. And it's just a t-shirt she's wearing. She's not wearing a full outfit yet.
No.
And they fly together. It's all romantic and all that. And at this point, I was thinking, because when they talk to Mr. Terrific and they talk about her training and Clark's like training her how to use all the various powers, it turns out, oh, she does have all of the Superman powers. She has all of them.
Yep.
They kind of talk about it like, okay, we don't really know exactly what's happened here, but it is possible that whatever's happened to make you absorb the solar energy might not be permanent. It could be that it still runs out. And I was thinking, okay, that's their interesting little way of writing this, where she's not going to be superpowered forever. It'll maybe go in a dramatic moment when she's saving someone later, but we can have it for a bit, and then it'll just go away. However, by the end of the issue, they don't make it permanent per se, because I think it'll end, but they reveal that it's not just something that's going to run out. The big question that comes up at the end is someone points out, hey, Superwoman like has all these powers, and when all the powers got mixed up at the end of Absolute Power, and again, I'll criticize it a little bit as a whole, that it seems like a very limited amount of powers got affected. Like, it's fire and ice and like one or two other people, and that's it. Yeah. It's not a lot of people that have been affected by this.
Well, we gotta see. We haven't seen as much yet, but the whole idea of the Atom Project, right, is they're trying to solve all these.
Yeah, but it's not affected any of the other characters that are in any books. So like, it feels meaningless, right? Other than this Superwoman thing, it feels meaningless.
Yes, but there is that Atom book that's coming out as well, right? We're still just a little bit behind.
Yes, and we'll see what other D-listers have had their powers messed up. Yeah, exciting. I would just say,
how dare you call Fire and Ice D-listers?
They're D-listers. Come on.
They had a book once. I didn't finish it, but it was there.
Having a miniseries does not mean you're not at D-list, okay?
I mean, okay.
Not necessarily. If it's a really great book that's got critical acclaim, that's a bit different. But anyway, so the part I get to is the question comes up, but we don't know, like, Superman still get his powers, Supergirl still get her powers. Where did these powers come from? And in the final page, you just see Zod looking pissed, and you're like, oh, she's got Zod's powers. Zod's going to be grouchy about this.
So they find out that suit that Lois borrowed was one of Luthor's that was meant for deep space. Right?
Yeah, although they don't explain exactly what it's for, though, because Mercy even has like a line where she says they can never find out why Lex built that suit. So that's still a mystery to be answered as well.
And that, so I don't know if that's why Zod's power, but also, how did Zod get his power taken if he had nothing to do with the absolute power stuff?
That's something that I'm sure will come up, but they say that it was connected to the Amazo, like, Grid or something, whatever you want to call it, right? It was connected to them, and it was designed for deep space. I mean, maybe this is a suit Lex used to go visit Zod at some point, so maybe it was like tied to Zod somehow that way. Yeah, is all I can think. Maybe Lex was going to make a deal with them when he was still evil. Because
I love the reveal of that, because you're like, oh, that's why. So, because I'm doing all the accounting here and be like, all of the the Kryptonian based characters still all have their powers. So whose is this? I didn't even factor in Zod. So I thought that was a fun little reveal.
It was a genuinely good reveal that was like a nice surprise that I didn't see coming, and it's actually kind of fun, the idea that he's just human right now and is going to probably do whatever he can to get his powers back, because I don't imagine he's very happy about it. So
no, and with that tease that we got in Superman with Doomsday talking about, oh, Zod's still, you're not wearing the eye patch yet, so you must not have run into Zod, right? And having that tease in that last issue of Superman as well, the breadcrumbs were there, right? So, but yeah, that reveal was a lot of fun. I just trying to figure out all the little moving pieces that make it work is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm curious to see.
Or maddening, because it is Williamson. So it could be very upsetting as well.
I'm curious to see where it goes. I will say the art change for the back third of the book was very noticeable, right? Basically, when it gets to her training with Clark, that's when the art changes drastically to a very more cartoony anime style.
That's the Chimeshka stuff.
And it's not, I don't think it's particularly bad or anything, but it's very, very different to the rest of the book, so it really stuck out, that change.
Yeah, it doesn't match the other two, the Laura Braga and who's the other artist, the Galmon stuff.
Yeah, I think Braga's the one I probably like the most. Yeah, if I'm thinking. I think
Braga's the main. When we see her going around with the super women, I think that's all Braga. So,
and even maybe even the flashback at that first part of the issue as well might be Braga. Yeah, it looks similar. Yeah. No, I mean, this was pretty solid. Obviously, it had a purpose. It's kind of like sometimes like a special or a one shot can just be fluff that you don't need to read. This does actually feel like it's very important to the ongoing Superman story, because it's going to lead up to whatever is going to happen with Zod and Lois, and it explains where Lois got her powers from. So it is notable, though, that Lois doesn't know where her powers came from right now. We do as the audience. But it's heavily implied, at least. Because, to be fair, it's not like Zod says he doesn't have his powers. It's just a panel of Zod, and the narration makes you think, oh, it's probably him. But there's room for them to, like, what if it's Ursula? What if Zod's pissed because his wife's powers are gone? And he's like, oh.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
And his kid's still kicking around somewhere with Sinestro's kid, but we don't care. So, there's almost an argument would be the one that makes sense.
Yeah, there's almost an argument to be said that if they find out that it's Zod's powers that are gone, it's like, well, he's kind of evil. Maybe it's a good thing that he doesn't have superhuman powers anymore.
Right, but then you get around to like whose decision was that, right? Is that Waller? Is that, how's that factor in? Because that gets into the whole point of absolute power, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's bad if it's the heroes getting their powers taken, but what about the villains? Is it still good? Is it bad? Like, what is it? So there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think it's important that no one made the choice to give them to Lois. It was just kind of fate, effectively, that led it to be her, because she was in that suit at the time of the Amazo destruction. So, honestly, this was pretty enjoyable. It had a good reveal at the end. Some of the moments of her saying, I could maybe argue, if I was going to nitpick, that her deciding to ignore the advice not to use the powers the second she gets out of that conversation is a bit quick for my liking. I would have liked her to be struggling with that for a day or two, over a little montage or something.
Well, that and the accidentally finding out she's bulletproof too, that goes a little bit hand in hand with that. It makes her a fun reveal, but still, it felt like the drama really wasn't there. That could have been, like you're saying, like her making that rush decision to use her powers before she knows, what they're capable of. I don't know. Yeah, could have been handled more.
Yeah, so there's definitely some little quirks in the writing, but I mean, I shouldn't be surprised at that with Williamson at this point.
True.
But overall, though, pretty good. And I'm definitely not mad at the potential setup of a powerless Zod being pissed and coming to get his powers back. Is kind of interesting, so.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what were you giving the Superwoman special?
I'm going to give this an 8.5. I liked it way more than I thought.
I'll give it an 8. I liked it.